when we put together the back, we have the following things. I have a harness, which is with my arms connecting us up top, and I have hooks with my feet. So hooks and harness. The harness should be, I stab her in the heart and I hold the hilt. So the over stabs her in the heart and I hold the hilt. You do want to put your chin over their shoulder. You want your ear next to their ear. And that's going to be even more important on the underside, and I'll talk about why. And then your hooks, the pinky edges of my feet are kind of against the inner thighs. That's fine. Do not double hook. The double hooking, that's asking to get like your own knee hurt. So don't double hook, just put these in here like this, and don't cross your feet. That is a mistake. So the underside means that we aren't sitting up nice and symmetrically like this. We've fallen to one side. So when we fall to this side, why it's so important that I have my head in the way of her head. For her to escape, she wants to get 2 shoulder blades to the ground. And that's easy to do if she can get her head on the ground, and then get her second shoulder blade on the ground. And then she'll just work her way north and she'll be sort of out of my back control. So the only thing preventing her from doing that easily is my head being in the way of her head. So if she can't put her head on the floor, it becomes harder to get her shoulder blades to the floor. This is not a problem on the overside because the other thing is under her head, and that's my arm. So when we're on this side, it's harder for her to get her 2 shoulder blades to the ground because something's in the way here. She's not fully getting her back on the ground because it's on my arm. So I can always hug her back on, which I can't do on the underside, which brings up that important detail of our general positioning, which is that you want your head underneath their head. And the other thing we're going to do here from this position is I'm going to improve it by making it sort of further asymmetrical. And that is, I'm going to step on this hip. So I step on the hip, the high hip, and then I'm going to scoot out a little bit. And I'd like to have this one foot do the job of sort of both hooks. So if I can get out to the side like this, we start to get into a position where I can do more, I can take away more of her defenses. And I'm doing more with fewer of my limbs, so that's good. The overhand stabs in the heart, hold the hilt, don't forget your chin, fall to the side, and then you can step on this hip and you can get yourself out a little bit from under them and bring this across so that this foot is doing the job sort of both hooks. I'm going to fall to this side. When you back up, you can back your hip up without backing your head up. So keep your head where it is. And then this foot does its job sort of across both here. And now, when I'm choking, her hands are going to be coming up to defend. And I'm going to take this one out, the choking arm out, and then I'm going to come attack the choking arm, side arm first. So first I'm going to control this with 2 hands. And then once I have control of this arm with 2 hands, I can keep it with my left hand and then come back over and then grab the other one. And now I have essentially a straitjacket. So again, from here, she'll be defending a choke right away. I'm going to take out my choking arm and then put it back in. Top side arm first, double control. Right? Now that I have my left hand and my right hand controlling this arm, I can come back in with this one, and when she starts grabbing, now I have one-on-one. From here, her hands come up to defend choke stuff. I take out my choking hand. I control the top arm first with both hands, and when ready, I let go of my now top hand. I can come back for a choke, but she will be defending, but then I can get a grip on her hand, and now I have the straitjacket. I'm not doing what like my big brother did to me as a kid. I'm not trying to choke her with her, squeeze her with her arms or anything like that. In fact, I'm going to be doing the opposite. I'm actually going to be pushing them apart. I'm going to be pushing this one skyward because that's going to help me do the next thing that we're doing, which is going to be to catch this with my foot. So I want to put my foot over her arm. At the wrist is particularly effective, but the elbow pit is okay. Stronger people, you're going to want to really be as close to the wrist as you can. And I'm going to catch this behind her back. Now I do want to talk a little bit about how to catch this, like where to put my foot to best catch it. Once I catch this arm, if you put yourself in a kimura, like behind your back, and you can weave your arm out. So go ahead and weave your arm out of there. Good. Okay. So it's something to be aware of. It matters exactly what I do with my foot here in order to trap it. So shoelaces on their back is one that I see a lot of times, but I find that my heel is still up off of her back enough that if she does just the same movement she just did and turns her arm over backwards, that she could, if she's found my heel and then she found the space underneath, so she can actually get past the sole of my foot. So I had done pretty well putting my shoelaces here, but this has become my least favorite way to trap the arm because I feel like it's still pretty escapable if she gets under my heel. So do that escape one more time. Yeah, she's just coming out through there. Another option is to just put your foot back on the hip. So even though it seems more open, it is more open here, there's more open space. If she tries to get her arm out, she'll find that her arm's just a little too long, right? You start wishing that your arm was a few inches shorter, right? So I actually like this one. My new favorite is either the foot on the hip or toes on the ground. So if I put my toes on the ground, it's hard even for her to turn her arm over to get out that way. But yeah, that space is just very short and it's very close to her back. So if I get my toes on the ground, that's one of the ones that I really do like now. Here, I'm gonna find her wrist and I'll push down, and foot on the hip's pretty good. Shoelaces on the back I don't love. Toes on the ground is great. Of course I want the ball of my foot as high up here as I can go. So we've done so much of our work. We got to the straight jacket here. I was able, you can straighten your arm to put it more in reach. I was able to find this with my foot, and now I'm 2-on-1, and now my left hand's sufficient to keep this down here, so I'm 1 against 0. So we've done so much of our work, and we're so close to the choke. Let's say it's easy to get under the chin. The one-arm choke, this goes as deep as you can. And I'm palming. I put my back of my head on the back of her head. It actually helps to put my elbow into her chest here, and then draw my elbow across. Okay, so it's once I've trapped the arm, and I'd like to finish with the choke, we're gonna run into the chin. We're gonna run into a guy who's defending their neck by ducking their chin. So these are some Marcelo Garcia details. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a sort of tiger paw out of my hand, okay? And what I'm gonna do is actually start right in front of his chin. So I'm not gonna, sometimes people come under the ear. That also works. That's fantastic if you can do it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this divot right here, right in front of his chin, and with a tiger paw, because it's flat, so that's on purpose that it's flat, not round, I'm going to rock pinky down, thumb up, until I'm in contact with his throat. So tuck your chin hard. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm doing this until I jack his chin up enough that I'm in contact with his throat. So this isn't a good enough finishing position for my choke yet. I have to get my arm in there. So from here, now that his chin is on my hand instead of behind my hand, I open my fingers, I put my fingertips down, and I hoist my wrist. So that opens his chin a lot, and from here I can shoot it in. Okay. This works gi and no gi, so one of the reasons I like it. So I make a flat tiger paw of a hand. I put the snuff box right in front of his chin, and then by lever of my pinky down and my thumb up, I'm creating a jack to work my way in. Just like that jack, I'm now going to make my whole wrist a jack. So I extend my fingers, put them down, and I hoist my wrist. Now his chin is way up in the air. There's plenty of room for my arm to come in and to finish the choke there. So. I'm trying to get my I can set myself up here for a standard bow and arrow. I'm going to start with my legs so that this rotation happens that turns his belly more to the ceiling. And I'm going to, with this hand, I'm going to change its job, and I'm going to grab the pants here. When I have the pants like this, it makes it impossible for him to roll away with this. Essentially, if I don't hold something, he can turn with it. So he can turn with it. Go ahead, turn with it. And now it's not choking him anymore. And he unwinds what I've wound up. I need something to stop him from unwinding my choke. So when we're here and I get the collar and I start to do this, I'm going to take this out and grab pant here. And I don't just hold the pant. If I want to stop it, I really want to kink everything down there in the spine, low spine. And from here, there is no turning away. I set up my choke. I start to send him across, but I want to get pant leg here. I'd love to have him in contorted position in the low spine. And from here, I have my leg to push away. I have my whole body, the power of my whole body, a row to push him away while I wrap this choke in. There's an alternative on the finish for the bow and arrow, and it's something else that I can hold on to besides his pant leg. Now, in this moment here where I'm weaving in and I'm holding onto his arm, if you can hold on to the hand, so give yourself his hand, and I'm trying to lean my wrist back and lean his wrist back and open everything up and stiff arm. Okay, that gives me this kind of grip on his hand is actually very hard to escape. It's not impossible, but there's only really one direction that he can go to escape. It's like very hard to just twist out of it. There's only one way to go, and it's kind of to straighten it. And if he straightens it out of my reach, I just raise my hand, and you know it's coming back. Like I can start putting it in a choke. You know you're going to catch it again. Okay. So if you ever lose it, just raise your hand and then re-grip. You can use your other hand if you want, because we have an extra hand here, to make sure that you have the right kind of grip on him. And what I'm doing is a thumbless grip on the pinky half of his hand, and I'm cocking my wrist back and his wrist back, and I'm stiff arming. Stiff arming just to keep it as far from the neck as possible. With this in place, I actually have enough, it's the same as having the pant leg, to stop him from escaping the way he would if I didn't have that grip. So I can finish actually right here. And he can't escape the way that he could if I didn't have these grips. And take this moment, when I have two hands and he has one, to just get yourself this grip on his hand. And I'm cocking both our wrists and stiff arm. Keep it away from you here. Pretty hard for him to escape while he's working on that. I can be putting this hand in. I'm getting this as deep as I can, around the back of his neck if I can. And from here, I'm doing a bow and arrow that he also can't run from just because of the hand grip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my grip on this hand, on this arm, to, I kind of think of this as like a roller coaster seatbelt, like those things that come up into your armpit. So we're going to switch to this. I got a nice grip on his shoulder here, and then this hand's going to come onto this side of the face, and I want to frame across, basically across his cheekbone. I want to make it so that Chris can't turn to face me. So when he tries to turn to face me, he can't. So my hand on his face doesn't do it because he can turn into that possibly. I want to be reaching, I want about my mid forearm, on the side of his face so that it's like all the way past his face, framing so that he can't turn to face me. From here, I can start to roll him to the other side, bring my leg over, still keeping him facing away with my leg, and then I'll bring my legs together and I can finish an armbar here. And what I do first is change the grip on his body I have. I'm going to hold on to his shoulder here. So I'm getting just a nice pulling grip over the shoulder. This one try to come under his ear. Over the temple is not really going to do it. Try to come under his ear, across his face. Think past his face, this arm reaching forever. A good strong frame. And then you can start to roll him across. This foot's going across. My other leg's dragging his arm across. I bring my leg over to keep him facing away. And then my knees start to come together so that I have a nice pinch for this armbar finish. It's 1, 2. Make sure this bites out. This comes over. The armbar escape happens when a person can turn to face me. So if I didn't do this, and I try bringing this over and he can turn to face me, maybe he gets up, over here. We do not want this, so it's always he's looking away. He's looking away. Now my leg says, keep looking away. and then my legs come together here for a nice pinch on the arm, finish the armbar. If we get to this point where I've got this trapped, and I've got this one trapped to his belly, if it's tucking his chin, you might run into somebody who makes this so difficult to get underneath, or sometimes people sort of throw themselves into the armbar. Sometimes they start flailing over this direction, and that kind of, it almost begs the armbar. So partially their movement, but partially you couldn't get the choke thing to come together, so you try the armbar. The choke first because it's very low risk at this point. All I have to do is try and fail, but I haven't lost position or anything like that. I wouldn't do the armbar first necessarily, unless it's like your very most practiced move, because if it goes wrong, maybe I'm on the bottom. I've changed position completely when I had really good control. So anyway, that's the answer to the question. Partially their movement, and partially when this stuff isn't working. But I would do choke stuff first.